Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. We are back here once again, another episode of Crypt Rick's I've Been Thinking. And what have I been thinking about, guys, in the last probably, well, at least 2 years? And for me, it's been prepping, and a lot of it has been prepping, and especially with all the craziness that's going on in the world, which I don't have to tell any of you guys about. You guys all know what's going on in the world, or you should. And that really led me. I mean, I've always been a prepper to some degree. I've always, stockpiled a bit of food and water and stuff. I've always known to do that. And then as things got a little crazier in the world, I started just going around and asking friends and family of mine, if they prep at all, if they, like how much food, how much water do they have stored up, just in case, something goes bad and the whole grid goes down, which can happen, especially in these times. Like, how much food do they have? How much water? And I was shocked to find out that most of my friends are lucky if they had 3 days of food in their fridge and canned goods and like no water. Like they had no water stockpiled, not even bottled water. And I was really shocked. So I mean, that put me on a journey to find an expert who I really think I have to inform you guys that how important prepping is and trying to get eventually off grid once you start. I know we all got to start somewhere with prepping. So that's why I wanted to bring my guest on. I have a great guest this evening. We're going to learn a lot. And I'm so thankful that they took the time to come and talk to us, educate us, and break down the importance of prepping. So I am going to bring my guest in. Hello, Dan Willis. How are you this evening? Thank you for being here.
Hey, Rick, my pleasure. Always enjoy. I hardly ever have done any shows on prepping, but it's good to share this
It
information.
is. Well, that I know, like a lot of, if you check Dan on YouTube and that, and on his website, I'll make sure he gives you all that information at the end of this. He does a lot of talking about UFO stuff and free energy, stuff like that. But I wanted to get him on here for something that I think is important, which is, as I said, prepping. And I know Dan does that. He lives totally off grid. I have a picture you'll see, guys, on the screen if you're watching. I have a little picture of a drone shot that Dan did send me of his house. And I mean, to me, it looks amazing. I wish I lived there, to be honest. I think that is my idea of heaven. It looks totally amazing. And I just love this picture, Dan. So, I mean, it's great to see what people can do over with a little hard work and research. They can go off grid. So I want people to see this picture. It's just an amazing picture.
Yeah, my back, my
And your
here I am.
backdrop. There you go.
Yeah, with my backdrop. There's the I get my finger pointing in the right direction. There's our cement geodesic dome. Um,
Does that go
that
underground? I wanted to ask you that last time. Does that go underground at all, or is it just a surface structure?
it's just on the surface.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. I didn't know if it went deeper or something like that. Who knows? You could have tunnels under there, Dan. I don't know. But no, like I think that's amazing. You can see your solar panels, and you've got everything there. And the more I've talked to you and find out how off grid you really are, to me is amazing. So I wanted to ask you, and because I know my listeners I've had people ask me about prepping since I've been talking about it. How important is prepping to you? Like should people really be taking this seriously, especially in these times?
Well, everybody gets motivated by different reasons, why you want to be self-sufficient. I was working for the US Navy Electronic Engineering Center for like over a decade on all this stuff. And I was plotting my escape, trying to figure out, like you work through the week and then you end up spending all your money and then you have nothing to show for it, and you have to keep paying the landlord, you have to keep paying the utilities, keep having, and I just wasn't so much worried about the world falling apart as we are today.
Right.
I was more how to be self-reliant, how to be self-sufficient, how to wean myself from all my addictions of needing to pay some landlord to live someplace, uh, food, power, telephone, entertainment, sewer, the whole list of things that we have to put out money for unless you've set up a system. So, back in 1999, I made a blast of internet on money on the internet and
Right.
bought some property up on top of a hill and it was completely raw land, nothing on it, no roads, no nothing. And I initially started with, for the people who were, you know, there's different levels. There's people who are struggling in the world. They're just, trying to make money and trying to save up enough money to, get disconnected from the system. And then there's people who are, kind of retirees. They've made a bunch of money and they just want to find out how they can be less connected and dependent on the system.
Right.
It's an evolution. My my evolution was, I picked up a bread truck and I was going to make a stealth motorhome out of it, put solar panels on the top and figured out, how to make a kitchen and bathroom and everything in it. And that was the initial idea. But as I made a little bit more money on the internet, I decided I picked up an Airstream trailer and, bought this land and put the trailer on the land. Now, I recommend, anybody, do a little trailer, or you get a little RV, a little van or something that you can equip with, some power and some of the basics. And then once you're, see, the thing is get out from under paying the landlord. If you can get some land, and it can be very remote, so you get a inexpensive, if you wish. All you need is like an acre or even a half an acre. I'm on 22 acres and I only live on about a half an acre on the top of this hill.
Right. It's beautiful. It really is.
So what you do is you end up paying, your payments for the purchase of the land, like a mortgage on the land, if you don't have the money to outright just pay for the whole thing. And it's going to be your best investment, because property value, as you know, as we see it is today, it keeps increasing in value. And rather than going in the landlord's pocket, it goes into your own pocket.
Exactly.
So once you're on the property, you can then start to build. I recommend like a tiny home. Tiny homes can be done in such a way, it's not a lot of expense in also the planning department, the fees, and the amount of materials that are needed, the ease of heating and cooling, easier to keep clean. It's smaller.
For sure, yeah. Like
There's
how big are these tiny homes, Dan? Like, are they one? I don't know much about them, to be honest. So I'm just asking you: are they like one room, like a log cabin style, or are they a couple rooms? Like, are they just like, or are they just like a normal house shrunk down, kind of?
They stem from being very organic, kind of like a little hobbit house, kind of
Okay.
rounded, and you can make it out of you can make it out of straw bales or something like that, or you can do something very ultra modern and looking like, where some people use shipping containers they make it out of.
Right, I've seen that. Yep.
You can make it so that you have beautiful view windows, you have a nice space, because you think about it, when you're sleeping at night, your eyes are closed, you don't really notice the space you're in. And a lot of people, they sit at their desk and they do the computer thing or whatever, and you don't really need a whole lot of space for that.
Right.
Maybe you have some room for doing yoga or exercises or whatever, but you lay it out in such a way that you don't need a lot of space. And it's a great way to go. If you need to expand more from there, if your resources allow that, then you can expand from there. But we're talking on the very, very basic
Right,
level.
right. Yeah. So it's a good starting place, is what you're saying. Start with this tiny home, and then if you want to keep expanding, then by all means do that. But it's a great place to start.
Yeah, some people, they build a shed or a barn, next to
Yeah,
it. They
yeah,
if they, a lot of humans collect a lot of stuff. And if you got a lot of stuff, then
it's true.
you don't want to be paying some storage rental, like 100 and some bucks a month, for storing your stuff. If you have land, you can just store it yourself.
Hmm.
The main thing is you want to make sure that your land has water. There's a couple of different avenues to work, everything from collecting water out of the air that converts, they have equipment that converts the air into water, give you a couple of gallons a day. You can collect rainwater, um, and that works as well. Power, you want to, you can start out small with just enough to run your laptop and some lights and your pumps or whatever. And then you can expand your solar array so you have more power later. For food, I highly recommend a little greenhouse. It can be like a little lean-to that goes on the south side of the house. Some people even incorporate a greenhouse into their house, so they actually part of their house is the greenhouse where
Yeah,
you're
that's what
growing
I'm
the
starting to
food.
do, and I'm actually showing a picture, another picture that you sent me, Dan, of your garden, like your garden. I know I can't remember the name of what you call them, but it's the picture that you sent me of all your plants that you have growing in your house, and that is so. I'm getting some of these planters. When you explained to me this on Rev Radio, what these things can do, I'm getting some of them. They're expensive, but I think they're worth it.
Oh, I'll share a screen here.
All right, yeah, if you
Uh,
can do that, then definitely. Oh, there we go. Let me take down this
yeah,
little picture I got of yours. There
this
we
is
go.
from the security camera that's inside the greenhouse. These things, they're called gardentawerproject.com. Give a free little promo there. Each one of these produces 50 plants, and the
Wow.
water recycles. And what it is the center column, which has a lot of holes in it, you put your food scraps in, and the worms go through the soil, and the worm castings and things nurture the plant. So you can grow your seeds right in here. I have 4 of these going. I've got 2 more ready to set up. And so we got like 200 plants amongst
That's
these
incredible.
these 4 units
Wow.
that every
Incredible.
day we get a great big salad, with all these different bok choy and lettuce, and we get broccoli and cauliflower, and um my wife put together an amazing salad. And salads are, the thing is about growing your own food. Not only do you save money and make yourself independent of the food chain system in case they can't get delivery, or they
Right,
have
right.
crop failures, and just the quality of the taste of the food. The taste is the flavor is just amazing. And the life force in growing your own food, you could, if you had a critical situation happen on the planet, if you just had water and some greens every day, the body can be very efficient.
Right,
You
right.
could be healthy, and you could be nourishing yourself with water and eating greens every day, raw food.
Yeah,
um
you can't beat raw food for health or taste. I know that growing gardens that I started. I started doing gardens, Dan, about 2.5, well, 3 years ago, and it's an art to gardening too. That's what I try to tell people, because some of the friends I talk to, they're like, well, if I have to grow a garden, I'm just gonna plant what I need, and I'll have a garden and I'll have food. And I'm like, okay, it's not that easy. There is an art to gardening. I learned that the hard way. Every year I get a little bit better. So yeah, I think it's great that you're bringing up the importance of gardening, and it's not. It takes time to learn that. I think people don't realize that. I think they just think they're gonna plant some seeds and boom, they got enough food. And for me, at least, that's not my case. It took me a couple years to even get the knack of getting a good harvest at the end of the year, and that's why I really like the planters that you showed, because you can do them in your house if you have ample lighting. And I can't believe there's that many plants in those planters. It's incredible.
Yeah, what's nice about them, in 4 square feet, you got 200 plants.
That's crazy.
And I was originally going to go with an aquaponics system, which requires, you check the nitrates and the nitrites and the ammonia levels, and you
Right.
have to have pumps running electricity all the time. And if you don't feed the fish every day, the fish die, so you have all these things. With this system, it's very, very forgiving. There's no electricity needed whatsoever. Highly water efficient because it's got a tray at the bottom. When you water it, the water collects all the nutrients, and then you feed it back through the top again. So it's extremely water efficient. The worms, they keep propagating.
That's so cool.
I love the system. Yeah, my
Yeah.
wife loves it too.
Yeah, it's incredible. I really am going to get a couple of those. I have to try them just for the sheer number of plants that you get in a small area, because I know from my gardens in my backyard, you need a lot of room to have that many plants. And I mean, I know because I have like 4 gardens that I have now. They're quite big, but I wouldn't be able to put that many plants that you're growing in that little area. In my garden, not properly. At least I don't think I could. I mean, I think it'd just get overgrown, but I really like that system. So I'm glad that you showed people that, and I think people don't realize that you can garden in your house if you have good lighting. Like you said, a good south window, you're set. You can start growing. So really cool stuff. Now, before we get into like slowly going off grid, I just want to ask your opinion. Like, how much food, if say somebody's never prepped before, Dan, they don't have no food, like the people I know, they have no food, no water, and they want to, what food do you think that they should at least stockpile a little bit of, and how much water? Like, I mean, say for a month or so. Like, I mean, I know that to get them started, like, what are some good things that they should kind of put aside before they can start doing what we're talking about, going off grid?
Well, I have a massive amount of water, but we have a
Right
solar
behind
powered
you.
well. And so it pulls water up 550 feet down in the earth, pumps it up
Wow.
800 feet to the top of the hill, fills a 2,000 gallon tank. Plus, I also have a rainwater collection system.
I love that you have pictures for us, Dan. This is amazing. Thank you.
Here's a shot of the here's a shot of the outside of the greenhouse. And I've got two wet walls you can make inexpensively, using like $15 gutters, and you just get the medium inside, get a little $15 pump, and you pump the water through. And then in the summertime, when it gets really hot, it gets over 100 and something here,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps the and I have some solar panels down below here that power it all. So in the hot summertime, you get lots of sun, I get lots of free power and free cooling, so it keeps the greenhouse is where the plants are inside of here. Now,
Now, what's a wet wall? I've never heard that term. Can you explain that to people? I don't know what a
oh,
wet
a
wall is.
wet wall is nothing more than an evaporator cooler. In
Okay.
other words, the media has, and you can put this together with PVC tubing. There's YouTubes you can find out how to
Right.
do
Yes,
this.
I've seen some about that. I didn't know what it was though.
Yeah, you drill holes through the PVC pipe, and then it pumps it up, and then it drips down through this medium. The medium, when you draw the air through, it cools the air down, considerably. And
Wow.
so they call it a wet wall, but it's just nothing more than an evaporator cooler.
Okay.
Um, and down below here, coming off of the dome and also off of the greenhouse, all the rain that hits it, in one day, with just a little bit of rain, I fill up 500, not 500, I fill up 300 gallons of water.
Wow.
Um, and the rainwater is mineral rich, which you can use for watering your plants,
Right.
and also extra backup for water for whatever, in case you don't have a good well or something like that.
That is incredible that you can get that much rainwater. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you about
Yeah,
collecting
blew me
water.
away too.
Yeah, yeah, like that. That's an amazing way to collect. I wanted to start a rain barrel. I was looking at it last year, and I want to do it this year. So I'm glad that I'm speaking to you about this. And I've had another person ask me this too. you get a rain barrel, you start collecting water, but and I think I know the answer. It's pretty self-explanatory that they should be sealed. I think because a lot of people say that when they have rainwater barrels, they get mosquito larvae in them, and
Right, right.
they
Yeah,
can't.
you want to have it covered
Right,
so that only the water comes in and nothing else, or else, yeah, you will get mosquitoes or whatever
right.
coming in.
And
I
if you have,
recommend getting an
go-
IBC tank because you have like, let's say a small one's 275 gallons versus 55 gallon. So you have a lot more storage.
for
And
sure.
then you can get a solar powered pump, the pump the water to feed your plants, shower, wash, whatever. Um, as if you have just a rainwater collection system. All depends on the location where you are. If you're up in Canada, like you are,
Hmm.
if you're in a cold region, like say if you do a greenhouse or something, the Wallapini design's good because it takes advantage of the constant temperature of the earth down below, and so you have to kind of dig into the earth, and you can, in the middle of winter, you can be growing I've seen people growing tropical things,
Really.
in really, really cold regions. So
So
yeah, you
that's like a greenhouse that you dig in, like it's a normal greenhouse, but you're digging also into the ground. You want to get below the frost layer, so to say.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, that is real. I didn't even know you could see. I'm learning so much. I didn't even know you could do that. So,
Uh,
uh,
you hear that?
yes,
That's a security system.
that is so cool. I thought it was on
Yeah.
my end. I'm like, what am I doing?
No, my wife's home. And that's another thing. If you live remote, you want to have a security system.
For
And
sure.
I've installed a lot of security systems. I'm kind of a consultant that way. Uh, you can have like infrared beams going around your property that anybody, animals or whatever come onto your property, it alerts you to let you know that, something's approaching you,
Right. Yeah.
and you have like some advanced warning of it. So yeah, I highly recommend a good security system. And it's nice to get a little they're inexpensive. You can get a little DVR, a little 4 channel or 8 channel, depends on how many cameras you want.
Right.
And it's interesting to see all the stuff. And there could be like mountain lions or bears like we have.
Dogs.
That's the dog bark. That means that she's getting closer.
You have that set up so cool. Wow.
Yeah, well, we've been up here for almost 20 years, so
Yeah, like it's
we
just
had time to fine tune it.
for sure. It's amazing. I mean, yeah, I learned so much just from chatting with you when we did our Revolution Radio interview. We were like, I mean, I learned so much, and it's the possibilities of going off grid now. Like, I mean, 20 years ago, it was like it seemed impossible, but now that I'm learning a lot from you, it's definitely doable if you want to start small. And that's why I'm glad that we're doing this, so you can let people know that you don't have to start off with like the house that you have behind you if you don't have the money for stuff like that, but that is something that you can build up to, which is what I want to do. I think that's incredible. Like but so we're kind of covering water. So you like if you want to get, I agree with you. Instead of paying rent or anything like that, get some land and then get a
Yeah,
little house.
get a little RV or a
Right.
trailer or something, um, and be somewhat self-sufficient in it. Make it like a fun game, where you have your internet access, you have some power, you got some water, you have your basic essentials, so you can unplug from the system. And then when you find some property that you can move on to, then you can, what's nice about that is that you're on the land, so you just walk right out and start working on your project.
Yep.
And with you have a pickup truck or whatever you've got, to start bringing in the lumber and things. It's sad the prices have
Yeah.
gone so high, but you
That
can if with a tiny home, it's a lot less expensive. And look around, there's some amazing designs. Get ideas. Look, there's a ton of stuff on the internet, You can get different ideas of layouts that people have done that look really laid out nicely. So it doesn't feel like you're in a small space. It feels like you're in a nice living quarters with a nice kitchen and living room and bedroom. You have all the things that you need.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the way for me to go. I think going off grid would be amazing. So you're saying so find a piece of land. I get that. We find our land. You said you suggest you try to find a place that you could at least has a well, or it's possible to drill for a well. So that you have to look into that. I imagine when you buy your land, correct? You want to ask about
Right.
wells,
If it
water.
has a well already, you're probably looking at quite a bit more added on to the cost of the
Yes.
land. What you do is you go to a local well drilling thing and ask to see the wells in the area, and then you can get an idea of look at your property that you're looking at and the wells that are in the area to get an idea if it's a pretty safe bet that if you dug down 100 to 200 feet or whatever or more
Right.
that you're going to hit water. uh,
Perfect.
you can yeah, you can start out with using rainwater collection or something like that. It all depends on your budget,
Right.
how much you have to work with, because drilling well can be expensive.
Yeah, my parents found that out because they live out in the country, which I'm so happy. They've got pretty much all of what you're talking about. Pretty much they've done it over the last 20 years. They're not totally off grid by any means, but it wouldn't be much of a stretch for them to go off grid because they do have solar now. A little bit. They're dabbing into it. They have a well, but they did have to drill down deeper, and you're right. It does get expensive when you have to start drilling. So definitely people should be aware of that. But they do have their own well and stuff like that. So, and they got a barn and gardens and stuff like that. So they're definitely way more sufficient than somebody living in a city, which is great. Now, so we have our
I would
land.
like to recommend,
Okay, go ahead.
Grundfos has a really good system that runs on
Run
just a
Foss.
couple of solar panels. So you don't have to have, a big power hungry 220 volt system that can give you all the water that you need without, if you're going to be completely off grid, that's a good way to go.
Okay, perfect. And then now, what about? I always worry about power. Obviously, that's what I keep talking to you about, even when we're in chat and stuff like that. I want to start going on solar, and you're asking me, and I like the way you say, "Well, what are you trying to do? What are your goals for going off solar? Do you want to have like lots of power for a whole house? Do you just want a little bit of?" And I told you I wanted to just dip my toes in and start to learn about solar. So, what's a good way to start with solar? What do you recommend? How big? If somebody just wants to get their feet wet and start learning about solar, what's a good way to go? What do you recommend?
Well, you start out by determining how much power that you need,
Right.
by determining how many loads you're going to be running and how often you're going to be running them. By that, you figure out how many kilowatt hours per day that you're going to be consuming. If you're using just like, for example, just using a notebook or something, and you've got some LED lights and you've got some pumps running for water or for heating. Now we use an outdoor wood boiler that we put either this dead tree, since we're in a forest there's always
Right.
dead
Yep.
trees and stuff, so we put that in there. And you can use propane as well, but propane costs money,
Mm-hmm.
where you can heat the house for free. And we have a radiant floor running in the cement slab, which I recommend, for my God, you can even do it like in a RV or something like that. If you're building it from the ground up, have like a little radiant floor and have a tankless heater that heats your compartment and just insulate it really well. Um, and for cooling, we use an evaporator cooler that only 4,000 cubic feet per minute fills this
Wow.
huge dome that's like 50 feet across. That it takes only like 75 watts of power, and when it's sunny and hot in the summertime you got tons of power. So here, I'll share something on
Yeah,
the
definitely. I love when you show the pictures because I think it really helps people get an idea of what they need and what they should be looking at. So I'm definitely, yeah, this is great stuff.
Here's a solar array. It's been upgraded. It was less, and now I've got a bit more. It's almost about 9,000 watts of power, which
Would that run
would
a house?
also
Like, would that run a conventional house that people have?
it will run if you're sized correctly. Um, for us, it works perfect. We have enough storage, we have enough power, and considering another factor is, how much solar radiation you get in the area. If you live in Tucson, Arizona, it's going to be a lot different than living in Vancouver, Canada,
Right, right.
or Seattle, Washington. Um, you get a lot more sun in some areas. I'm in the Southern Oregon area, which is okay. It's not quite like Los Angeles and San Diego down in the southern part, but if you have a large enough array, when the sun is shining, it will store the energy.
That's incredible. And now, if the picture that you were showing with the solar panels, is each panel one of those squares? Like, so they're like, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 8, 12, 16,
24.
24. So each one of those black squares is considered a panel.
Yeah, each panel is about 325 watts.
Okay.
And so, like, say, if you had, just four of these, that's quite a bit of power.
Right.
And so I'll go through more images here. Here's the power display. It's showing, for example, here's showing 9 kilowatts coming in. This meter shows how much power.
I love it. I love it.
How much my wife's parking the car. How much power is being consumed, and this is how much power is in the battery levels. Here is the power conversion. These are the lithium ion batteries, lithium ferrophosphate chemistries.
How many batteries is this? It looks like a lot.
I have 8.
Okay.
And I have them inside of a here's my wife and I, we lived in this Airstream trailer for about 4 years before we started building, and we have the solar array on top of it.
Oh, see, so you don't have to start off like really elaborate, like you said. You can start off just like you did with the like that.
Yeah, and we're actually we're a relay station for the internet for the valley down below, so we get free internet by being on top of a hilltop to send the signal down to the valley that can't get the signal. And all the power equipment is just in this little trailer.
Wow.
Here's when I expanded it. See, I had 4 batteries originally, and then I added another box onto there because I found out in the wintertime, I didn't want to run the generator as much. And you can pick up a little propane powered.
I love it. And at least I know when your wife's driving around the house. And the dog goes off. That's incredible. Okay, so this is the battery. Okay, I know I've seen this because I have an electric scooter, and it's got kind of a setup like this with the lithium batteries that I have in it.
Yeah, it's like a bus bar that connects them all together. Here's the inverter. These are the charge controllers that take the energy from the solar panel and charges the battery, and then the power out of the battery runs the inverter that runs the house. And that's how that works.
This looks like, I have to be honest, Dan, for a beginner like me, this looks really elaborate. Like, this looks inexpensive. I know, I'm sure it is at the level that you're at. But so anybody that wants to get into solar, you're going to need the solar panels, you're going to need the batteries to store it, and you're going to need the inverter. Am I correct?
Yes, and you got to keep in mind this is a system that has evolved from this is like a more advanced system. I mean, there's much larger systems than this, but you're looking at this is a system by Outback. Schneider Electric also is another well-known off-grid type system.
Okay.
There's a view of the valley below.
That's a cool window. Wow.
for a Millennium Falcon type
I was
window.
gonna say that. I was gonna say it looks like it reminds me of the Millennium Falcon. That is so beautiful.
And here you can see, here's a monitoring of the system. You can see in the morning, the power goes along. This is the loads that are the little blue things are how much power is being consumed.
Okay.
And what happens is the sun hits the panels in the morning, and all of it goes from low up to 100% charge. And then through the evening, as you're watching TV and using on the computer and lights and everything, it slowly drains down until the next morning when the sun hits the panels and up it goes again. And so what you want to do is you want to set it up so that your amount of loads and the amount of panels and the amount of storage all weigh in to how efficient your systems be working.
Right. What is that green line in the middle that on that last slide that you showed? What is that green line in the middle?
Oh, this one? Oh,
Yes,
this
yes.
one, this one's measuring the battery voltage, and this one's measuring the percentage of charge. So this
Okay.
is going down from, I can't see it, but it's like maybe it's down to 80% charge, and then it going up to 100%, and then it going down, and there's like 90%, and then it goes down to
Very
80%
cool.
and back up again.
And do you monitor this on your computer? Like, is this something you monitor on your computer? Or is it on the
Yeah, it's
actual
just
panel?
it's a program. This is the only maintenance that you have to do. If you get some snow, you
Which I
get a
do.
snow
Yep.
rake and you just, pull it off the panels. And when it's cold, the panels produce the most amount of power.
Right, I learned that in our last interview on the radio. I thought I was, when you said that, it really shocked me that I thought in the winter you would get way less power because it's not summer, and you corrected me on that, which is very cool.
Now I'm in I have a lot of electronics background. So, I put together a little control panel so I know what's going on. This
Wow.
controls all the temperature. I have solar tubes and I have a wood boiler that tie into a tank, and it keeps the dome warm. And then this is for the greenhouse. And this is amateur radio. My wife and I are amateur radio operators, so we have free communications
I
when
want to
she
get
goes
into
into
that
town.
too, right? I want to get into that too. So you're somebody I can definitely speak to about that.
And this is a water level meter I made so that you can see how much water is in the tank. So you can just keep an eye on that. And let's see.
That's incredible. Like, you've got this dialed right in. Like,
Yeah, I think that's pretty
I
much
love that picture. That's incredible. I mean, but as I'm saying, for somebody who's a beginner like me, that it looks overwhelming. But I do know from what you've explained, you don't have to start that way. You can start with just a couple panels, and as if I'm
oh
right,
yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple
Well,
panels, an
keep in mind,
inverter.
I've been doing this for my wife and I have been doing this for over 20 years.
Right.
So it works. We don't have any we only pay for our property tax.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have no electric bills, we have no water bills, we have no sewer bills, we have no heating bills, we have no cooling bills. We have no internet bills because we're a relay station for the internet. Uh, Instead of cable TV and stuff like that, we just use the internet. YouTube
Yeah, there's
and
tons
Rumble and
online.
all the different online, uh, and so and we use for communications, we use amateur radio, which is free, and you can also do a GRMS, General Mobile Radio Service. I think I mentioned on the last show that for $25 on Amazon, you can pick up a UV5R, which can be programmed to do all the GMRS 22 channels. It can do amateur radio repeaters. It can program and scan all the police radio emergency channels. And it'll give you communications if you don't want to get a amateur radio license. But amateur radio license gives you a lot more power, so you can reach out further. And for telephone and things, you can use a Google phone, which is free,
Yep, free.
and or a Skype, which is like 25, $30 a year for a Skype number, and have the communications like what I'm talking to you on right now.
Right. Yeah, I was shocked when did our last interview that you were telling me that you like. Well, I know you're off grid, but I could never tell. Like you're not your signal strong. You got a great picture. I mean, and you're off grid, so you can set it up to where you covers everything that you need. And I think it's really cool that you're actually a relay station for the internet. So that's pretty cool. I was wondering what that tower was behind your solar panels when I saw the drone shot
Oh yeah, that back, yeah,
right
that
there.
tower.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow. So I mean, it's really cool. But so we covered like power. You definitely covered that a little bit. And if there's anything else you want to talk about, Dan, by all means.
Well, you need internet connection for three different things. You need it for
Right.
communications. You need it for entertainment, and you need it for accessing the web for all the different things that are on the web. So uh, there's different ways you can use a cell phone. They have program plans and there's people on YouTube. I don't need that, so I haven't looked into it lately. There's a whole lot of new ways in order to get pretty good high speed connection for like $40 a month, which is not
Mm-hmm.
too bad. Or you can go with Starlink, which is like $100 a month, which is a lot more. They get a lot faster connection.
Right.
It all depends what your needs are.
And
Uh,
what about the importance? I like the hand operating. The hand radio is what I. You were just saying that you were showing the picture that you do have that. And what do you think the importance? I think that's really important. I just think that's why I'm looking into wanting to do it and actually get one like start off. Like I said, getting my feet wet. Everything with me is getting my feet wet because I haven't done it. So I want to start off small. But what, you think I think that's really important, right? Just in case the phones go out, internet goes out, then you have a form of communication. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. I think they always think their cell phone's going to work, their internet's going to work. And I think that's great that you have a way to communicate without having to be on the internet. I think that's really smart thinking.
Oh, well, yeah, just imagine if Klaus Schultz's cyber polygon global cyber attack happens
Yep.
where our grid get taken down and communications, the cell towers get taken down, all the things that you rely on. Everybody relies on their cell phone, but what if
Mm-hmm.
that whole system goes down? You don't have any way of communicating. So, that's why I recommend, inexpensively $25, get a little UV5R and you can program it. Lots of information on the web about that.
For sure.
um, Plus you can see what's going on in the area, the local sheriff, police, fire departments, everything that's going
Right,
on.
and I think that's really important when, especially if that ever happened. I mean, I think communication would be so important, and people would be really. I think people would be really scrambling. I don't think they realize what could happen if there was no communication, no internet, the whole grid went down, and I'm just like, wow. Like, I mean, it could happen. And as I was saying to you when we were texting,
What it
there you
looks
go,
like. That's what it looks like.
and that's like $25.
25 bucks, and it will do everything.
Wow, I'm ordering one of those today. I got to order one because I it does everything that you really need for, especially in a pinch. So great stuff. Now,
But you need to get a license if you broadcast on the amateur radio frequencies, and that's not a big deal. And
okay,
my wife is not a technical person, and she was able to get her technician class license. And whenever she goes into town, I never have to worry about having a cell phone or anything like that. We can stay in communication.
that is really cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get one for sure. I think that's something everybody should have. And so we definitely are learning a lot. I mean, I totally I'm so fascinated by this topic, Dan. I really am because I really don't. I always just keep thinking that people I know they're just not ready for if anything goes bad. And I like I said to you, I'd rather be prepared and not need it than not need it and don't have anything. And I just find it really, I just keep going back to, I find it really shocking that people just don't think ahead like that. So I really appreciate you coming on here and letting people know that it can be done. You can start small. You don't need to get really elaborate at first, and you can do it with a small budget and work your way up. And you're kind of letting people know too, it's what your needs are. Like, what are you trying to do? So that's going to dictate how many solar panels you need and stuff like that. Now, what I want to ask you about, which a lot of people probably, I know I haven't seen a lot of people cover, what about waste and stuff like that? Do you have like a way of, like a natural way of doing that, like getting rid of waste and stuff like that? Because a lot of people don't talk about that, but it's something that if you're off grid, you don't have you don't have a toilet like that normally.
Waste is an important topic.
Exactly.
Everybody creates waste, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got a lot going into landfills. And um, how we deal with it is we have my wife's home. To have a number of trash cans. One's labeled, plastic, another's cardboard, another's glass, another's, all these different things. And then everything that doesn't go into the compost pile, out from the kitchen scraps, a lot of it goes into, we have a certain amount goes back into the garden towers, to feed the worms. The worms live off of the food
Yeah, they're
scraps.
eating better than most people, those worms, with the scraps you're putting in there. They're actually eating better than most people. Like, I mean, they really are.
Well, yeah, we try to keep our worms happy. They keep our plants happy, and
Exactly.
yeah. And so what's left is just the garbage that can't be composted and the things that don't fit in all the other categories. And so what it ends up is I end up going to the dump every 3 months or so, like that,
Wow.
with a couple of cans and paying $15 to so I so our amount of waste we create is very, very little,
For
because
sure.
we recycle and we compost, and it
Incredible.
saves you money. If you're not doing this for um you know because you're worried about the world going to hell,
Yep.
which it looks like it's in a handbasket, that you just want to save money, or you just don't want to have to hustle for money anymore, and have to
Right.
think about having to continually do something to try to make money, so that you're at a stage where you've got your basic necessities. You've got a place to sleep, you got food, you got water, you got power, you've got communications. You've got your basic essentials taken care of, and your cost of living is dramatically reduced,
Oh,
and your
for
quality
sure.
of life, being able to have more time to pursue the things that you really enjoy and love, is is a huge benefit.
I totally agree. I think and I think it's by design that they keep us in this rat race where we're, working
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
yeah, I mean, yeah, nobody has any time to do anything. And I hear that a lot too from, I interview a lot of different people on a lot of topics, and I kind of like digging in a little bit and seeing where they think on things. And that's, like I said, when I started talking about prepping, is where I wanted to speak to you, because I'm, like I keep saying, I was shocked. And I hear that a lot from people, that they just don't have time. And then the other thing I hear about when I say, what do you think about going off grid and trying to get more, get off like some solar panels and stuff, then they say they can't afford it. And so I'm glad that you're breaking down people that, like, breaking it down for people listening and watching, that you don't have to start big. I just like the way, I just want to keep saying that, because I think people think you have to start off with what you have, great big solar panel array and all the stuff you have, but it took you 20 years to get there. You started off with a very small trailer, and then you worked your way up to that. So I think that the advice you give people is amazing, because it's the advice I try to give people, and I'm trying to do myself, is to get a piece of land. And I'm very fortunate that I do have a lot of friends actually thinking this way now, that they are talking about, instead of renting an apartment or a house or getting into a big mortgage, they're going to get land and they're going to build on it. And I think that's amazing. And what I wanted to ask you, but I know your wife's home, so I will let you go shortly. I don't want to keep you, because,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
good.
um,
I just wanted to mention that
yes,
don't do any of this out of fear.
That's where they
Do it
want
out
us.
of
Yep.
fun.
Right.
Do it out of make it like make a fun adventure to see how you can eliminate the your 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 daily monthly expenses that you have to put out, and see how just you can go incremental into the whole thing, because having a I mean, for people, yeah, I know there's different levels. There's different people have different finances, and
Hmm.
from they have to start with. But even at the lowest level, if you work on making your little escape pod, your little RV, and
Yep.
have solar panels on the top, and you're just running your notebook, and you've got some LED lights. It doesn't take a whole lot of power, and it's wonderful having the lithium technology,
For
because
sure.
they're smaller, lighter, can have a lot more power density. You can take it down, down to like the batteries we have. They warranty it for 10 years. With lead acid batteries, are heavy, they're bulky, they're maintenance intensive. You can
Hmm.
only take them down halfway. They're a pain in the
They're a
you
pain in
know.
the ass. You can say it because I had them for my electric scooter, and they were horrible. I had four of them in my scooter, and my scooter weighed about an extra 150 pounds just from these lead acid batteries in it. They were so heavy, and then I invested in the lithium batteries, which yes, they cost me a couple $100
Oh,
more, but they were worth it. I mean, it's just
they're actually, you save money in the
yes,
long run because you don't have to replace them
right,
as frequently, because in the long run they're less expensive.
yep,
And they're coming out with new technologies. When you think about the graphene batteries that will be coming on in the future, and they're even talking about a new quantum battery. They're
yep,
going to have something that's this size of like this, that will pack in multiple kilowatt hours of power.
right.
And that's the most expensive part of a solar system.
That's what I was going to ask you. What are people looking at? Can you go through each of the elements? So like the solar panel, the batteries, and what's the most expensive, and where like just kind of break that down and what people need, because I just want to make sure, because I'm going to be watching this back, guys. Honest to God, I will be writing all this down. And I just want to know what I need for a solar to get started. I know you need the panels and the batteries, and I forget the middle part to convert all that. So can you break that down a little bit?
Sure, sure. I'm very familiar with that.
I know I
Um,
love this. I'm getting solar panels for sure. So I'm gonna be watching this just to know what I need to get and bare minimum and all that good stuff.
again, once again, it all depends on your loads, how
Right.
much you consume, depends what area of the planet you're on, how much sun exposure you
Right.
get, and then you have to determine um, how much solar panels you're going to need, and how much storage is going to work well with that combination. And
Right.
so
I'm just starting
um,
small, Dan. I just want to get my feet wet. So let's go from the aspect that I'm just like, let's say four solar panels. Is that a lot? I'm just guessing. With four solar
well,
panels,
yeah, I think you'll be fine with four
just to
solar
learn, just for
panels.
learning.
If you're just going to run your notebook, you're
Right.
going to run
Exactly.
some LED lights and a few other little things. Your battery, your storage is going to be your most expensive component. um, you can, with a small system like that, you want to make sure all your panels are the same, that they're the same
Right.
specification. And then from the solar panels, you take your cables and you run that into your charge controller. And your
Charge control.
charge controller will be a type that's compatible with your batteries. If you're going to run lithium ions, you need to have a solar charger that's compatible with that.
Okay.
Like the Outback ones are a little pricey. I've seen them on eBay, really inexpensive, and they looks like they're getting good reviews. So you can do some shopping around. And also, if you're going to look for uh, solar panels, they have what's called deinstalls. Like say in Arizona, they have these huge solar farms, and they're upgrading or doing something where they're dismantling all these panels that have been in service for like maybe 5 years or so. They're still in spec. The panels are normally warranted for like 25 years.
Wow.
And so, but they're a fraction of the cost. For example, a 250-watt monocrystalline panel normally goes for a couple $100, but you can pick them up for like $40 each. By the time you get done with shipping, if you pick up a pallet full of like, 22 of them or whatever, uh, the cost of each panel comes to around $50 each, which is really inexpensive.
Wow,
So,
yes.
for example, if you had like 4 panels like this, 250 watts each, it adds up to a kilowatt. So you have a kilowatt, you can go into your charge controller, which feeds into your lithium ferrophosphate batteries. Now, there's ways to. Now we got our batteries from Simplify, which have a really good track record. They're a little expensive. They're about 3.7 kilowatt hours each, and they're rather expensive. They're like about $2,400 each.
Right.
But you can pick up for a fraction of that, where you put it together and it has its own battery management system
With
on the internet.
batteries, do you get what you pay for? Like with like, so if you like, so some
No,
people might
no,
get a
no, no.
cheaper one.
You can shop around and get elements. Some people even take Tesla car batteries and repurpose them, to use. My neighbor has done that. I
Smart,
talked him
actually.
into when he bought the property. I talked him in, go off grid, man, go off grid. And so he got the same well system I have, and he loves it. So
That's
um,
really cool. Yeah. So we got. I just that's a great way to break it down because I just think what I get confused with the solar panels and a lot of this is just the parts that I need. So I mean, it's hard,
uh,
to
well,
know what to buy.
the sequence is you have your solar panels, and then you have to wire them together, and those
Yep.
cables come in and they feed the input of your charge controller. The charge controller then feeds and charges your batteries. The batteries then connect to your inverter, and the inverters you can pick up, for a little tiny operation like what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
way less than $100. Have like a 2 kilowatt inverter, which is more than adequate for what you're doing.
For sure.
Um, and and that's essentially it.
That
It's
yeah.
not really yeah, it's good to know some basic electronics, and so you don't electrocute yourself and blow things
Blow the
up.
house up. Well,
But
that's another thing I was going to ask you, Dan. Is it good for somebody that's new like me too? And I just want your opinion on this. Should I learn how to do this myself? Is that going to drop the cost dramatically, or can I know you can
oh
hire
yeah,
somebody to come in and they would do this all for you, but I'm assuming you're going to pay a lot more.
you will pay a lot of money for an engineer to come in and do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I highly recommend you learn how to do this on your own. There's a lot of information on the web. There's a lot of YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
that'll show you how to do it. So yeah, research.
That's what I always say. I always say
I- I'm
research.
I've been working with electronics since I was a little kid, so it's second
You're
nature
way
to
ahead of
me.
us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
because I do know that when I was watching last summer, one of our neighbors around the corner, I saw them installing solar panels and that, and it was a company that was doing it. And I really wish I would have had the nerve to go up and talk to the guy and just ask him what he was paying for to get this all set up. I was just really curious, so I wanted to ask you, but I assumed it would be a lot more expensive to have a company come in and set it all up. I mean, they you got the benefit of them setting it up for you and teaching you it all quickly, but I think in the long run.
I can't think of what it could be. you know, because once you set it up, it's other than getting the snow off the panels, there's no maintenance. There's zero maintenance. You just have power.
Wow. So it's just basically once it's set up, you just keep the panels clean and
Yeah, just
it.
keep the snow off the panels when it does, come. And even if it has snow on, I'm still producing power in the wintertime, even with snow on the panels. So, a
Okay.
little
Now,
bit
what
of
about
lights
cloudy
coming
days?
through.
Like, let's say we got a cloudy week. It's really cloudy. The weather's horrible. Does your power? Does your charge like? is it you're losing power? Are you losing?
I get power all the time, even when we get the forest fires where the smoke
Really?
it's thick. Get power all the time, except when it gets into the freezing fog that you can't see 50 feet in front of you. You can't see the trees around you, and you can't even see that orange ball that's the sun. You can't even tell where the sun is. When that happens, and then the power goes. Ooh.
Wow, and I'm assuming that if you couldn't, I know if I know you well enough that I've since I met you, that if you do have a big drop in power like that from the weather, you must have backup generators or something to make power.
Well, our storage, we have enough battery backup storage that it'll last till the sun comes back up again. And if it does go for like 3 days of nothing but, socked in fog and you can't see the sun, then I do have a little, generator made by, what are the Champion Power, I think it is. It's just a little generator. You don't need anything huge that you hook a little propane tank into it, and it if you have a more advanced system that's got a charger inverter combination, you feed your generator into the charger, and then the charger then charges the batteries.
Okay, I see. Very okay. That is really interesting. That's another thing I want. See, I got all these questions now because I'm sorry, I'm just hitting you with questions, but I'm learning so
Oh
much.
yeah, I love it when people ask
Yeah.
questions. I mean, there's so
Um.
much. I mean, I've been doing so much research for so many years that
Right.
it's
I mean,
I can
I will be
it's
asking
hard
you
for
to.
somebody starting.
Oh, it is. It's very overwhelming, and but I have to keep thinking. And as I was telling you before we went to do the interview, I didn't even have a computer 7 months ago, and that's the truth. I had a phone, and that's what I did all my internet stuff with, and I didn't know anything about computers. I didn't know anything about how to do interviews like this. And I just remember how overwhelming it was to learn how to set up the computer, the microphones, cameras. I got multiple cameras, 3 monitors now. So I have like a podcast studio. So it's overwhelming at first. And I have to keep remembering that until you start doing it. And then it kind of takes care of itself. You just start learning by watching videos and reading websites and that. So I'm looking at going off grid the same way I did it by going online with my podcast is that I got to start small and just learn and then build out. So I'm that's why I really value you coming and talking to us because I just think people need to start small and then learn as they go, and then they end up with what you have. And I think that I wish all of us were living like this. I mean, it's possible, especially now.
And if you're living in a minimalist type of situation, use a tablet. A tablet doesn't hardly, it takes a lot less power than a notebook,
Right.
but you don't have as much,
Like power, yeah, computing power, but
yeah. But, if you're in a mode where you're just watching YouTube's trying to learn things and, doing that kind of thing on the web, then, just a tablet is fine. It doesn't take up hardly any power at all. You don't really need a whole lot of your main basis is your battery storage that's you know, keeping topped up
right,
with the few panels that you have.
right.
And if you expand your system, it's important that when you get a charge controller, get one that's bigger than what you're expecting, so that if you decide to add panels, you can do so.
That's great
And
advice, actually.
and make sure you get the same exact type panels, because if they don't match correctly, you're going to suffer inefficiency loss, because they're
And
you're
is it that big of do you notice like if you have
it's
just a hodgepodge of panels, are you going to notice a difference from if you had all the
oh
same
yeah, you
brand?
could lose like 20% of your power.
Wow.
And if you get a charge controller, go for a MPPT, which is a maximum power point tracking controller, where you get 30% more power because it tracks the maximum power point curve on the panel. So you're getting the maximum amount of power, harvested from the panel.
Wow, that is really interesting. I mean that's see this is the type of advice that I love because I don't think people think that you should have all the same panel. I mean, people would probably think I'll just buy a bunch of panels off different places and put them all together. You can do that, you're saying, but you're losing up to 30%. That's a lot when you're talking solar and that.
Well, with the panels, you want to have make sure that the output current and the maximum power point
Hmm.
voltage and everything is matched up, because if you don't match it up, what's going to happen is you're going to suffer from the losses of the match, because let's say one panel is producing 10 amps and the other one's like producing 5 amps, and you have them in series, you're not going to get the 10 amps, you're going to get 5 amps,
Right.
for
Right.
example. So you're going to lose a lot, going on. So yeah, you want to match your panels up
Right.
pretty well.
And I learned that with the lithium batteries too that I have, that you have to make sure you test your lithium batteries and make sure they're running at a proper, like they're running perfect. Because if you have, say, five, like with my scooter, I have four lithium batteries. They're nothing like big like yours. They're meant for an electric scooter, but if you have a bad battery in the middle, it affects the whole battery block. Like that's what I call it. I'm probably not using the right terms, but I remember the guy when he was telling me that like you got to make sure all your lithium batteries are working properly, because if you have one that's acting up, it does
Right, the
affect the
whole
whole.
thing will be dragged down.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
you have in the lithium ion batteries, you have what's called a battery management system.
Yes.
And the nice thing about the lithium, like I showed on the picture, that I originally started out with 4 batteries, but I was able with, you can't do it with lead acid batteries. You can't add fresh new batteries with the old batteries,
Right.
because the old batteries are going to drag down the new batteries. But with the lithium ferrophosphate, you can add more as you need them, which is a real beauty to the whole thing. um
Yeah, I love lithium batteries. I like even for my little electric scooter, it was so mind blowing to me how much more like how much more power I had in my scooter from these batteries, how much longer the charge would last. I remember with my lead acid, every day I had to top up the charge if I was using my electric scooter a lot. Like it was crazy. Now with the lithium batteries I only have to charge it like half as the amount of time, and I
oh,
get
it's so
three
much
times.
better.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
3 times the amount of power. Like I can go way more further kilometer wise than I could on the lead acid, and they don't weigh a ton either. They're just a great way to go.
Oh,
Very
you can
cool.
go to a deeper depth of charge,
Yes,
that you just can't do with the lead acid. Lead acid is archaic
it
technology.
is. Oh, I think. Well, I think. Yeah, I totally agree. Now, what I had somebody ask me that if they're going to go solar and off grid, and we kind of talked about this on the interview that I'm going to post that me and Dan did on Revolution Radio, and we kind of covered this. But I will cover. I want to ask you about this. They're worried about like running a freezer, running their fridge, running their stove, and that. Now, I know that we talked about it, and you said there is systems that you can buy that you don't have to be plugged right in, like to your power, right? Like they're like, what do you recommend? I'll let you explain this because I don't
The
know.
refrigerator is actually one of your biggest power
Right,
drawers,
right.
so it's an important consideration.
And
I
my
have
friend
an
had a
old
freezer too. Yeah, my friend was worried because he has a freezer too, because he has a lot. He's a
my
hunter. He has meat, and so I just he wanted me to ask you.
yeah, my initial system was a 24-volt DC system with lead acid batteries and everything. It's like this is night and day difference, the upgrade. But what I had to do is I had to take a DC to DC converter and convert the 48 volts down to 24 volts, and it runs the refrigerator fine. But if you're doing like a small operation, you can have like a small refrigerator that has a little freezer compartment. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to have a big freezer or something like that, you're going to need some more solar panels. And what I would recommend, if you've got some buddies and things that are also in the same, they want to do something off
Yes.
grid, and maybe all put together and figure out, well, this is the charge controller I'm going to need, this is the batteries that I can work with it. I would do a group purchase of the deinstall batteries, like I did with family and friends, where we bought a pallet full, and and you're able to get the panels really inexpensive. And say, um, if you got 24 panels, and let's say your friend wants 12 and you want 12,
Mm-hmm.
that's quite a bit of power, and you're getting it for a small fraction of what you would pay, if you were getting these panels new,
Right.
or even smaller and broken into, you have 4 people that want 6 panels each. It all depends on how you want to do it. Or maybe one person wants the lion's share and they want more, so
That's a
yeah,
great way
there's
to
a lot
do
of
it.
different ways to go that you can save a lot of money and still achieve independent power.
Right. Yeah, I think this is fascinating. I'm so glad that I met you, Dan. I really am, and I found your website and everything. I've learned so much just from speaking to you a few times, and you've got me so curious now about going off grid. Like I'm constantly looking at stuff now, like trying to figure out how to do it and how I can budget to do it. So I'm glad that we're talking about getting your feet wet, because I think that's where a lot of people are. They're just, it's overwhelming to them at first, but I can assure you, because if I can learn how to set up a podcast room and a computer and that, I can set up solar panels. I'm confident in that. And so the last thing, I'll let you go. I just have one last question, because I'm really curious
Hmm.
about this, and I've heard different stories on this. When you go completely off grid, like you are, do you get a lot of harassment from government officials or anything like that? Because I have heard people tell in stories and that, and I don't know if they're true or not. This is just stuff I've read, a couple videos I watched, that when you start going off grid and you're not putting money into the system, basically paying power and all of that, that they can start giving you a hard time.
Oh, the corporations don't like that you don't pay them for their
Exactly. So I
services.
was just wondering, like,
Yeah.
does that
It
happen to
doesn't
you
matter
or?
if you have a zero carbon footprint practically, and that you're helping to benefit the environment, and
Exactly.
you're not but the fact that they're not profiting off of you, it's very disturbing to the
Mm-hmm.
corporations. And it all depends what state, how corrupt it is. Fortunately, there's the other things I talk about is that we're in a process of the planet being liberated. And
I love
as
when
I
you say that.
mentioned,
Right.
I had like 10 years meeting with scientists, and I've seen energy devices work, and we can have, little small 0 point energy device. When I testified in Washington, D.C., along with these other witnesses, we had the scientists to could prove we had these technologies.
Yep.
But the Bush administration denied the congressional hearing. So you wouldn't even need any solar panels or anything. You can power as much as you want from a little tiny device. It could be made fairly inexpensively. And it's just a matter of we're going through the process of the growing pains of liberating this planet for the dark cabal and all their players. And it's like a multi-level chess player type
For
of
sure.
thing that's going on right now. And at some point, there is a great awakening, though, it's happening, that people are going to realize that there's a whole nother world. There's the reality of the secret space program that's got med beds that can reverse age you, give you a couple of 100 years onto your life. They have technology that, just seems like the most incredible science fiction ever. It's all been hidden because they need to.
Keep people
It, we,
slaves is what I call it.
we've been our perceptions have been manipulated since we became born onto this planet, our
Right.
education and media and everything. And so they have to kind of ease it on slowly. Guess what, our planet's been hijacked, and we have these amazing technologies
Yep.
from beings that are thousands or millions of years in advance of us, that have been waiting for us to sort out, all these deep state players and whatever you want to call them. And eventually they'll be banished off of our planet, and we can take back control of our planet.
I hope, yes. I hope so, because I mean, well, that's a whole different podcast. I will definitely hope you come back, Dan. You're always welcome to come back and talk about that. I know you do a lot of interviews on the free energy and the UFO and all of that topics and stuff like that. So I would love to have you back in the future to actually talk about that. But like I said at the beginning, I think the prepping and learning how to go off grid is more
With
important
what
right
we
now.
have to work with right now at
Yes,
this present time.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is what we have to work with, and I'm doing that as well. I don't have a 0 point energy device that I'm powering my house off of. I'm
right.
just using
Everyday things like
currently available stuff.
right. So I think, yeah, I think that'd be a great topic for a part two of our interview someday. I hope you do come back. Is there anything else, Dan, before we go, that you want to bring up about going off grid? Anything that we've missed, or any recommendations? Anything that you think that we missed? Because I just want to make sure we cover at least the basics. And or do you think we nailed everything? I just want to get what your thoughts on that.
I think we've nailed most of it. Having an environment, your heating, cooling, power, sewer,
Water,
water, growing
security.
food, communications, entertainment, transportation. I guess if you got an inexpensive electric vehicle, if you got a big enough solar array, you don't have to pay for gasoline.
That's true.
So
That's something to look. Could you do that with the array that you have right now? Could you actually like charge a Tesla if you had a Tesla car or something like that? Could your array handle that?
well, I love my pickup truck. It's got a lot of years left on it, and maybe someday I might consider getting a an electric pickup. But it serves a purpose for what I need.
For
The
sure.
thing is, I don't do a lot of driving. I don't have I'm retired. I'm at that age,
Right.
so the gasoline will serve the purpose for right now. And you just have to work with what you've got right now. And
For sure.
they release the technologies, and all of us could live in remote areas with go to our anti-gravity vehicles, and
I
have all the
know.
power that we need, and everything is you know
And what a world
provided.
it would be, like what a world it would be, Dan, if they released all that technology, right? Like all the free energy
uh,
stuff they know, the anti-gravity. It would be, they could change the world so fast for the better. And it's just so sad that they don't. It's a crime. It really
it's on
is.
the horizon.
I
It's definitely on the horizon.
Right. I no, I agree. I mean, I think I agree with you too that there is an awakening happening, that at least I know a lot of people that I know, they're starting to actually see what the world is going on, and that, what is controlling the world and who is, and there is definitely an awakening. And I do think that, we will, I hopefully in my lifetime we see some, anti-gravity or something, because I remember growing up and seeing Star Wars and Back to the Future and movies like that, and I thought we'd be there by now in this day and age, like back when I was
Yeah.
a little kid. And we've kind of stagnated when it comes to that type of technology. We've come a long way with computers and internet and stuff like that, but for like, you know power, and we're still back in the Stone Age to me, like with oil and gas and all of that. I thought we'd be
Yeah,
way
me
further.
too. In the 1950s, when I was a little kid, I was thought, oh my God, the year 2000, we'll be
Yep,
all have go to other planets and anti-gravity cars, and just amazing, amazing
me
world. But
too.
no, our planet got hijacked by a dark cabal, and it's in the process of being liberated.
Right.
So
That's
looking forward to it.
me too. But yeah, definitely. I want to thank you, Dan, so much for taking the time to come and talk to us. You're always welcome, as I said, to come back and we can talk about anti gravity stuff. We talk about free energy, the UFO topic, which I do. Like I say, you do cover in a lot of interviews. So you're always welcome to come back. Let everybody know about your website, where they can find you. Anything that you want to let people know about yourself, Dan. The floor is yours.
No, my pleasure, Rick. I just have some online notes, not a professional site, at thewebmatrix.net. And it has some interesting sections in it that I can't say certain words about because of the control system.
Oh, for sure. And I do recommend that you check out Dan's site. It is amazing. I've learned so much by going on there, and you just guys got to check it out. Just trust me. I'll leave a link in the description for Dan's website so you can go check it out. And it's an amazing site. So I just want to thank you, Dan. I hope you have a great evening. And I'm so thankful that you came and talked to us. Thank you so much.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Anything I can do to help liberate fellow human beings on this planet, it's totally, it fills my heart with joy to know that other people are being liberated, because it's awesome.
It
It's the
is.
best. It's the best way.
Right. And I can imagine how great the feeling would be if free energy ever does come about and stuff like that. I mean, it's going to be a great day like for everybody, but I imagine how happy you're going to be when you finally see that because you know it's out there. You know for a fact it is. So,
That and so much more.
right. All right, Dan. Thank you so much. Take care, and I will definitely keep in touch with you, and we'll have you back on to cover more great topics. So, take care and have a great evening.
You too, Rick.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Take care. Bye bye. Well, there we have it. Another, as I always say, an amazing interview. I always enjoy doing interviews and having amazing guests on here because it's what I love to do. I love talking about music, definitely, which a lot of people know that by now. And I love having people on and learning. That's the one thing I hope people are enjoying about my show here, that we cover a lot of different topics and we learn stuff. And I find that really cool. I think that that's what people need is to start looking into different ways of thinking and different possibilities out there. And I'm so thankful, as I said, for Dan Willis to come out here and spend a couple hours with us and chat about prepping and how easy it is to go off grid and start living that way and, basically stop consuming and wasting. I just think of all the waste that people do in their life, like, leaving lights on and leaving power going and all that stuff. When you start thinking about it, we're wasting so much that we don't, and food and stuff. It's incredible. And then when you start looking into this topic, you start to realize how bad even myself, start waiting. You're just like, wow, I got this light on. I should just turn it off. Why am I leaving it on? I'm not even in the room, kind of thing, And then it's just incredible when you start looking at it. And that's why I'm glad I got Dan to come on and explain that you can do this in gradual stages. You don't have to start off with an amazing house like Dan has and everything he's got. As he said, took him 20 years to get to this point. So, as I was saying to Dan, I just want to start small. I just want to get a few solar panels and some batteries and all the things I need just to learn, get my feet wet, to figure out how to do it. But make sure that I always have room to expand. So that way I can add more batteries, add more solar panels. And then as I'm doing that, I'm learning about other things that, like Dan was saying, water collection, which I was saying during the interview that I do want to start collecting water this year. I want to start collecting rainwater and using that to water my plants and if I need it for backup drinking water. So I'm on my way. I mean, it's a slow process. I'm learning how to garden over the last couple of years, which that's a whole skill in itself. Going to start collecting water this year. Definitely have another garden, and I'm going to get some solar panels and start really small doing that way. So a lot to look forward to actually this summer. I'm done with the cold. Done. I mean, by this time of the year, I'm ready to pull my hair out, and it's probably the roughest month. So now that it's a new month, it's going to be cool because now I can see spring coming along very soon, which I am looking forward to. And like I said, I'm done with winter and the cold. So, but just want to thank you guys for all taking the time to sit with me, learn some great stuff. Definitely check out Dan's website. I will leave a link in the description. It's a really cool site. He has a lot of great topics on there. Check it out. Also, just to let you guys know that I am on Revolution Radio twice a week. That's at freedomslips.com. And I'm on Saturday evenings from 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio B. And then on Mondays, I'm on for 2 hours, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Studio A. And the first show, my 1 hour show, which is on Saturday evenings from 7 to 8, like I just mentioned, that's the one where I have fun. I talk about music, movies, all kinds of stuff like that. And then the one on Monday, my 2 hour show, is where I interview people and we talk about what's going on in the world. We have a lot of great guests on. And there's, it's a lot of fun to be there. It's a great station. And I definitely hope you guys check it out. There's a lot of amazing hosts on there, and we cover so many different topics. It's pretty much 24/7 that there's a show going on, and you can learn so much. So please check that out. And I will definitely look forward to seeing you guys there. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys back here when I put another great interview up. I've got about 5 or 6 interviews that I still got to post. I've always, a little behind on that, but I'm getting those up. So definitely thank you guys. Have yourselves a great evening, great day, wherever you are. Stay safe, look after each other. And as I always say, always remember, you have an amazing story. And why is it an amazing story? Because it is your unique story. And that is what makes your story interesting to me. Take care, guys. Peace.
Are you interested in the paranormal? Murder mysteries, cryptocurrency, and thought-provoking interviews? Then check out Crypt Rick's I've Been Thinking on YouTube, or every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Studio A at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Welcome to the Crypt.